Stephanie, tell us about a time when you had an answer to prayer.
Okay. No, but I have lots of time.
Okay, well, tell me about one of your favorite times.
Okay. Yesterday, I had to lead a meeting, and I didn't have the message for the meeting. I had it, but I wanted it to be fun, and I wanted it to have a video, and I wanted it to be about our theme, and God told me to just 100% trust Him. So I did, and then like 3 hours before the meeting, the perfect video was just someone just gave it to me, and it helped our meeting a lot. That was yesterday. I have a lot of times when prayers are answered.
Tell us about just one more.
Also, another time that my prayers were answered was when Lonnie had stage 4 lung and brain cancer and is being healed. And he's actually, the doctors can't find anything now. And there's a prophecy that he's going to be healed, and it's coming true. And his wife is being healed too.
Wow.
And a ton of people are going to know because a ton of people are praying for him.
Okay, one crazy story of what God answered a prayer was about 3 summers ago, I think it was, in which I was praying to God about the idea of going to a mission trip to China, and in the process, I really didn't hear anything from Him, really didn't see if I should have been going or should I just stayed home and do classes. And so in the process, it was the day before the application was due, and I was praying, and I was like, God, like, tell me if I should be going on here, if I should. I need to do the application, which is like 50 pages long. And in the process, I was doing homework also, so I decided to go back to my homework, and homework decided to turn into Facebook, which kind of turned into like a Facebook status. In the process of that, I was about to hit update, and as soon as I pushed update, everything, literally everything on my computer turned into Chinese. And I was like crazy, like freaking out, and I called a friend. He told me that it should have been like a sign from God. I was like, whatever. Came over, took him 2 hours to figure out how to get out of there, and Jeffrey said that was definitely a sign from God that I should have went to that China trip, and it was one thing that changed my life. So, answer prayer.
And one of the amazing things in my life that has been a blessing is to see God answer not only huge ministry prayer requests, but the small little things in life that just are little signs of God's love for you. And one of the ones I want to share with you was when I was 19 years old. I was an intern at a church out in San Diego, California, and I was living on $100 a week and eating ramen noodles and just barely making it, but I was loving life. And I looked down at my flip-flops one day, and I had had them for a while, and had duct tape holding them together, had staples holding them together. I mean, they were really bad. And so I just prayed, I said, God, could you please help my sandals to make it through the summer, or that kind of thing. And it was just a quick prayer, just asking God to help me when I needed it. And literally the next day, I was over at a friend's house, Jennifer, who now is my wife, and she brought out a yellow Pacific Sunwear bag, and opened it up on the inside, and totally unexpected to me were a brand new pair of Reef flip-flops. So I was just a huge miracle. I felt like God just the next day, without me telling anybody about my prayer, answering a prayer, and I wore Reef flip-flops for years after that. Just as a reminder in some ways just to thank God for the ways that He takes care of us. So, right on.
Cool answered prayer for me was in Jamaica. One night, Kristen and I were talking about how one of our teammates could use just a verse to be able to connect with, to encourage her. And so we went to bed on that thought, and in the middle of the night, I woke up with a verse flying through my head, and so I looked up the verse and then was able to share that with the team member in the morning. And so it was just a really good way to see how quickly God can answer prayer, but then also just feeling like maybe the verse wasn't really what she needed, but trying to obey what God brought to my mind. And so that was just a really neat experience with God answering prayer.
All right. So, my friend that was working in the Dominican Republic with me, when she was trying to decide if she was going to go to the DR or not, she was really battling with God in the idea of, is this your will or not? And she had grown up in the Ivory Coast, so she spoke French fluently. And the Dominican Republic is a Spanish-speaking country, so she figured if she would go overseas, it would probably be someplace where French as the main language because she felt like she would be most useful there. But God had other plans, and so she was really battling with God in this area and had just kind of told God, if you want me to go, you need to tell me. Write the words in the sky. And the funny thing was that the next time she got on an airplane, when she pulled out the American Way magazine, on the front, the words that she read were, go to the Dominican Republic. And she just couldn't believe it. She was floored, and she was like, okay, I'll go. And so that was how she got there. And the way that I got to the Dominican Republic as well, total God thing. I had a lot of student loans, was kind of worried about finances, and there's that number in my head that I didn't think that I could compensate for with the salary that I would be gaining at the school. And so I hadn't told the director or the person that I was interviewing with what that number was, and just kind of told the director at the time that I wasn't really sure if I could go, was considering, and out of the blue got a phone call from him just saying basically, I'm not really sure what your hesitancy is in coming to our school, but I found somebody who will support you this much a month, and I don't know if that'll make a difference. And the number that he quoted me was the exact number that I was concerned about in the month-to-month, the needs that I had. And so God just provides.
So a really cool thing happened today that I want to tell you about. I checked out a ministry, Heart's Desire, a long time ago, was to help those in need. Checked out a homeless ministry downtown, and really wanted to be involved with it, but haven't gotten back there since. And was praying about it this morning, about how I needed to go and to check it out. And so as I was praying about it this morning, I pull off to the exit to our church, and literally I met with a few guys there, and one of them was named John. And sometimes people hold a sign like about the exits and you feel guilty. This guy wasn't holding the sign. He just walked by the exit. The one day that I was praying about how I needed to go back tomorrow, and he needed a ride to the eye doctor. So I pull over and I give him a ride, and I just think it's so cool how not only big ways but small ways, God just speaks, and then he just kind of puts it in your lap. And I just was so excited because it was just like, come on. The day I think about it, that John's just going to walk down my exit, not close to downtown where the other ministry was, like, so cool to see God do the crazy small things.
My name's Garrett, and this is a story about Jesus. This past summer, I was in London, England, on a mission trip, and I saw some pretty amazing things. One of the amazing things, and really the Lord touched my heart through this, was I was with a friend of mine named Sage. And Sage is really bold, and we're in this church, and he got up kind of in a time where there was a time for people to stand up and share testimonies, and he stood up and said, hey, I really feel like the Lord, the Lord's telling me that someone's back hurts. And so does anyone's back hurt? And someone raised their hand, and it was actually a girl in our own mission trip. She raised her hand like, yeah, my back really hurts today. And so we went over to her and just like started praying for her back, like, hey, does it feel better? And she's like, no, it doesn't really feel better. And so my friend Sage says, why don't you sit back in your chair and let's check the length of your legs. I feel like there might be something off. And sure enough, one of her legs was actually shorter than the other one. And so he just laid his hands on her. We all laid hands on her, and we just prayed, Lord, in the name of Jesus, leg grow out. And we saw it right there. Her leg literally grew out, and it matched the other one. And when she stood up again, all the pain was gone. And she just started crying because it was just so wonderful that the Lord would really just touch her and heal her like that. And then I saw another kind of same instance where I was with a bunch of our maybe 5 or 6 people from my team. We were out at this park starting to play basketball with these probably freshmen in high school. And there are about 8 or 9 of them. And we get to talking, and everyone starts sitting down and just listening to just kind of testimonies that we're sharing. And one of the guys asked, hey, does anyone have pain? And one of the guys said, yeah, my back really hurts. So we knew this from before, so we checked his legs first this time. Sure enough, one of his legs was legitimately way off. And we prayed for it, and all the guys, we made sure everyone was looking at the leg. And as we prayed, we just said simply, in Jesus' name, leg grow out in confidence, and it grew out, and every one of their faces, all the boys were just, oh my goodness. And we said, guys, did you see what just happened? Yes. We definitely said, do you know Jesus is real? Yes. And every one of them gave their hearts to the Lord right at that time. And the cool thing was, we ended up talking to a person who does ministry going into the school that those guys were at. Come to find out, those 8 or 9 guys were the worst kids in the entire school. And now they just gave their hearts to the Lord because he showed up in power and showed them how much he loved them. And it not only impacted their lives, but it's going to impact that school. So it's just really wonderful to see the Lord at work and how he answers prayer. He's really real, and he really does. He's really alive, so it's wonderful. Yeah.